Okay, we're going to go through some of the other environmental issues related to coastlines. One of those has to do back with that beach budget. When you dam large rivers, primarily for flood control or for generating power, it's going to cut off that sediment supply to the coastal beaches. And when that happens, then you have coastal erosion. One way to deal with coastal erosion, other than those hard structures, is beach nourishment. And this is something that is happening every day up and down the east coast of the United States. It's essentially dredging sand from one place, vacuuming it up, and squirting it onto another. So in this image, that boat out there has sucked up sand from the quote borrow site, and then it squirts it up onto the shore face. You can see in the background of the image there are some groins. So you're adding sand to the beach budget. This is going to protect coastal property and make for a fairly pleasing recreational beach, right? You'll have a nice beach instead of a bunch of groins. Sometimes that depends on where the sand comes from. Sand in a nourished beach can be kind of coarse-grained and gritty and full of seashells. A lot of people complain about the sand, and it's also a very expensive and time-consuming process. That expense can be in the millions, or is in the millions of dollars. Sometimes the beach will wash away. So in the 50s, Miami spent millions of dollars on their beach. It's pretty much still there. In Atlantic City, they pumped out a beach, and 3 years later it washed away. So it can fail, but it is happening more and more these days. And the success of it is getting better as they spend more time trying to match the sand from the dredge site to the sand on the shore face. One of the problems you have is that loss of sediment and a pulse of damage to the ecosystem where the borrow site is. And then when the sand erodes off the shore face from the nourished beach, it becomes basically sediment pollution. So really getting the mineralogy and the grain size right of that sediment is really important, because you don't want to wash it out to sea. Sea. That should be SEA, not SEE. It can, that sediment, if it lands on a reef, will kill that reef. So very important to get it right. I'm not going to read all this, and you don't need to either, but it just goes through the Army Corps of Engineers setting guidelines with the North Carolina Department of Environmental and Natural Resources Division, the Coastal Management Division, and the guidelines that they have set forth for beach nourishment, because it happens so much in North Carolina. Basic principles here is that coastal erosion is really a natural process, right? It's that longshore drift with the waves coming in at an angle. It's just going to move sand. Any kind of shoreline construction you have then is going to cause change. It's a land use change. And the shoreline is a dynamic, changing environment, right? It's just a strip of sand out in the ocean. So it's at the whim of storms, at the whim of that longshore drift. Trying to stabilize it with all these hard structures can probably protect the property of a very few, shall we say, wealthy individuals with shorefront property, but a bigger general expense. Me and you, we pay for that hard structure because it's subsidized by the taxpayers and then built by the Army Corps of Engineers. Those injured structures then over time can destroy the beach. Remember those seawalls? It no longer really even resembles a beach. Once those structures are put into place, you start that slippery slope where you need to build another one because you've caused erosion in one place, and then another one, and then another one, and it becomes this irreversible plague on the shoreline of just hard structure after hard structure. It really makes for ruining the recreational beach. So what do? We leave the beaches alone. This background image here is a maritime forest. You don't see that very much unless you run across a state park or protected area. You need to move your beach back from the shoreline. Don't just keep building groins out into the ocean. Move the beaches, move the houses back. Plant seagrass. Don't walk on the dunes. I'm that person that yells at little kids who are just trying to be on vacation. Hey, get off the lawn! No, I say get off the dunes. Leave that maritime forest in place. That really holds the dunes in place, and it's going to be the first line of defense when you have a hurricane, and especially as we deal with the realities of global warming and sea level rise over time.